Hi, folks. This is Rafael Zanatta. I'm one of the directors of Data Privacy Brasil, a digital rights organization based in São Paulo, Brazil. And I was invited by Professor Marta Fuentes to share a little bit about our work and explain what is the kind of activism we're doing in Brazil and the kind of struggles we're fighting for digital rights, and to provide a bit of context of where are we and what we do. I'll just start by showing some basic information about Brazil. um, we are a Brazilian digital rights organization. Brazil, it's a country based in South America with over 212 million people. So here it is in the globe, as you can see in the map. And we are based in São Paulo, which is one of the biggest cities in the world. São Paulo is one of the mega cities that has more than 14 million people living in the city, and we are located in the west part of southeast part of Brazil, in a big city, and we are also former members of the University of São Paulo, which is also like one of the biggest universities in Brazil. And most of those activists that came from University of São Paulo are responsible for founding this NGO, which is Data Privacy Brasil. And we founded this NGO after we met at the University of São Paulo, and we were involved in the struggles for digital rights and what we called Marco Civil, which is the Internet Bill of Rights in Brazil that was enacted in 2014, and was a very interesting moment of democratic innovation and building a constitution for the internet based on basic principles and digital rights, such as the freedom of expression online, net neutrality, privacy and data protection, liability of platforms, and many other rights which are considered very essential to the Brazilian civil society. We are a nonprofit organization that promotes data protection and other fundamental rights in face of the emergence of these new technologies, what we call the process of datafication, and focusing on social inequalities and power asymmetries. And we believe that the protection of data and datafication processes must be seen from the perspective of power asymmetries and social justice. So our work is to build what we call a fair informational ecosystem, which is this concept we've been developing in some policy papers and the work that we do together as directors of Data Privacy Brasil, which is this broader vision of what is the meaning of digital rights, which goes beyond the classic narrative about privacy, freedom of speech, net neutrality, but try to propose a more ecological vision that can perceive datafication and platformization in a broader intersection between politics, technology, society, and even the nature and the environment. Therefore, we try to refuse and try to avoid old phrasings and old concepts from the 90s, such as cyberspace or cloud computing, or even the idea that digital rights are human rights online that are separately applied online, as if the online sphere would be something different. We totally refuse this point of view. We believed in the complete intersection, what we call the own life world, in which there is no separation between the material and the immaterial world. And it's impossible to talk about, the internet as something apart from nature, infrastructure, human work, and flow of capitals and flow of data. So we try to use this ecological view to defend fundamental rights and develop some of the projects that we have in the NGO. We also structure our work in some of the research areas and three main lines. One is the governance and regulation, in which we are responsible for the task force number 5 in the T20 on inclusive digital transformation, working also in the UN human rights system. We are actively engaged in IGF, internet governance arenas, and emerging institutional arenas for AI regulation. We have many projects on asymmetries and power, working empirically on problems such as body cams or softwares and spywares that are used in Brazil, and how facial recognition technologies and other technologies that they can um, strengthen and reinforce asymmetries between people in the Brazilian society, and our research area on digital platforms and markets, which is looking more specifically to problems of antitrust, corporate power, AI regulation, and others. And we have a lot of projects in the past years trying to look to children's rights and how they can better participate in the decision making of technologies inside classroom, or we have projects on how to expand the grammar of privacy and data protection rights for children. We have worked for 2 years on a policy paper on what is the meaning of AI regulation from a Brazilian point of view. And we have recently launched the project AI with Rights, which is trying to build like a broader coalition of social workers, environmental justice activists, writers, content creators, human rights defenders, and many others activists in society to think about why do we need a rights-based legislation for AI, which goes beyond basic principles for regulating economically those firms. And we've been monitoring very actively what is going on in the elections, also trying to produce report on what is the kind of harm that can occur for people who are affected by disinformation or problems of information integrity. So we have here in this report some cases of how AI was used during the election and was targeting mostly women. And you have fake videos, synthetic data being produced, jingles and synthetic videos, and a lot of the candidates also trying to produce deep fakes and synthetic data to harm candidates who are women or LGBTQI plus representatives who are running for Congress in Brazil. And this monitoring is still occurring for this year. We continue to monitor and document those cases and trying to produce a theory of harm that can help the Congress in approving a legislation. You can see many of the texts and essays that has been produced and our participation in the commission of lawyers who helped to draft the legislation in Brazil. We were actively involved in the Brazilian Senate in supporting the senators to write a piece of legislation. And right now we have a final piece which was approved in the Senate and now is going to be discussed in the Chamber of Deputies, which is a legislation that tries to combine a fundamental rights approach with a risk-based regulation and try to apply those rules for developers, distributors, applicators of AI systems, and to ensure basic rights for citizens, such as the right to information, the right to privacy and data protection, the right to non-discrimination, which could be not only direct discrimination by information about gender or race, but also indirect discrimination that can occur through proxies or other pieces of information that might lead to an abusive data processing for certain types of populations. And also new fundamental rights that should be applied to high-risk AIs, such as the right to explanation of decisions and recommendations and predictions, the right to contest and request review of decisions, and the right to a human review of decisions considering the context and the risks and the state of art of the technological development. Those are new fundamental rights that we defend that must exist in Brazil. And a lot of the campaigning that we do together with the Coalition Rights for the Internet is around, convincing senators and deputies and Congress people to enact a legislation that can put the human values in the first place and also develop a risk-based mechanism to better differentiate what are the types of AI systems that might produce low risk, medium risk, or high risk. And a lot of our work this year is on AI regulation and rights. We also have new emerging projects on data governance and antitrust and monitoring of platform regulation from the economic point of view. And we have a team of 28 people, including researchers, directors, and coordinators. Here in the website, you can check our annual reports, Most of them are in the Portuguese version. If you go in Portuguese, you'll find all of them, and you can find the people behind, this NGO, which are 3 directors, 5 coordinators of research, and other researchers who were working with us this year as part of the Data Privacy Brazil. Also, we have a board of people involved in universities, private firms, government representatives, and the long list of former collaborators and researchers who worked with us in the past and helped us build this institution in the past 6 years. I hope we can talk more about the struggles we are facing in Brazil in the field of digital rights and things that we can collaborate and think together on how to expand our ideas of digital policy and the intersection between the local and the global. But what I would like to share with you is that what is occurring in the international level with the Global Digital Compact and the idea of a AI panel on experts trying to create new ideas on high risk AI systems and a better governance systems to manage or control those risks. Those international processes are really important to connect with the local scenario and what happens in the local context within communities with the very concrete use of AI systems. And it's very clear that AI might produce several types of harms, not only for women and deepfakes and deep nudes, as I explained, that is already occurring in elections, but you have large language models, softwares, or synthetic data and synthetic content production systems being used freely all around the world without any kind of documentation and impact assessments for fundamental rights. And that might lead even to very bad outcomes, such as, chemical weapons that can be used in agriculture if you just freely use those systems to understand, fragilities and problems in agriculture that might be, attacked through chemical weapons, or even young people who might think that their life sucks, they are depressed, and there's even reports of AI systems which suggested to those people to, kill themselves or kill their parents. So this kind of a psychological influence based on the AI system, it's very severe and very risky for societies. And plus, we have the risk of losing control and our agency in our day-to-day and social and economic life. And therefore, there is a need to really use the precautionary approach, which has already been used in environmental regulation and data protection regulation, to apply to those systems. We will talk more about those struggles and how the local and the global they connect, but this is just a glimpse of Data Privacy Brazil. If you want to search more content and more information, just access dataprivacybr.org and you will find more information about our NGO. I'll stop by now, and thanks for your attention, and I hope that we can meet and be together in classroom with Professor Marta Fuentes. Thank you very much.